The .NET framework is a software framework developed and released by Microsoft first in 2002. In simple words, it's a software development framework that runs primarily on Microsoft Windows and is meant for compiling and running applications written in various languages. The wide range of features that have been incorporated in the framework has substantially helped in the creation of various apps for Windows, mobile phones, the web, and other platforms as well. This diversity could also be observed amongst the form-based apps, web-based applications, and web services that are built with the .NET framework. Furthermore, 60 plus programming languages are supported by the framework, out of which 11 have been designed and developed by Microsoft. VB.NET, along with C# are the most popular amongst other supported languages. These facts boldly underline the importance and prominence of .NET framework. Thus, if you are interested in exploring the fundamentals of .NET framework further, sit tight, because we are here to tour you across all that you need to know right through your respective screens.
If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them. Hi everyone, welcome to .NET Fundamentals tutorial. In this video, we shall learn Introduction to .NET as well as Visual Studio with C# fundamentals and its control flow statements. Let's start with the first topic, that is Introduction to .NET and Visual Studio. First, we shall learn regarding .NET, then we shall learn the Visual Studio. .NET is a framework which is used in order to develop certain software applications. So it might be a web application, mobile application. Also nowadays, .NET is used in order to code for IoT devices. .NET framework and software application. You have two different elements to concentrate. So some people might not relate what is a framework and what is a software application. So let me give you a live example. So .NET framework can be compiled for a car manufacturing industry or a company. And the software application can be a car which you drive on the road, the end product. So what happens inside a car manufacturing company? They'll assemble, they'll give the mechanisms to the car, they'll color, they'll fix all the doors, windows, and the mirrors, and they'll make it look a proper, tested, good driving car, and they give to the customers. So that is what it happens in .NET framework as well. Here we are building a software. So software is being coded, it has been tested, that is debugging, and it has been given to the customer solving their problem statement or the requirement. So you can relate .NET framework and the software application with this example. Coming up to the next point. Who owns this .NET framework? .NET framework has been owned by, designed and developed by Microsoft. The evolution started during 1990s. I say it is an evolution because software application is being evolved from one version to another, version 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and goes on and on. Every version has a beautiful feature which has been added, which is advanced, and the user friendly elements inside it. So that is why we call software as an evolution. It is not a discovery or an invention. So coming up to the next point, we have FCL in .NET. What is FCL? FCL is a framework class library. Like compared to other programming languages like C, C++, Python, Java, so whatever the programming language you take for an example, it has a set of predefined functions. That means, for example, in C program, you have to print something. So what happens? You use a word called printf, right? So it is known for us, we have studied that printf means it will print certain statement on the output screen. How will the computer know? Computer in its library has a predefined instruction for printf. Printf means you have to print a statement. So that is called library. It is having its own predefined function. So that is about the class library. Coming up to the execution environment. Execution environment means here, if you code one particular software application, you have to debug, you have to check for the correctness and good logical working, and there is no errors in the end product. So where all these things will happen? In execution environment. So it is also having an execution environment that is called CLR, Common Language Runtime. So what is the latest release you have for .NET? It was during 2019. The version is 4.8. And .NET Framework can also support 60 plus programming languages. That means you can use C, C++, Java, Python. So the programming languages which you can use in .NET has 60 plus variations. So that's about the .NET introduction and brief history. Next, we shall learn regarding overview of Visual Studio. Visual Studio is an integrated development environment where the software applications can be developed, also games and many more. It is also the product of Microsoft, and the evolution started during 2000. The latest stable release of Visual Studio is Visual Studio 2019, that is 16th version. Also latest during October 12th, 2021, we also got the beta version. We call it as preview version or the test version of Visual Studio 2022. So we can use it, but still it is not a stable product. It is a beta version. So I'm just mentioning that. Apart from this, Visual Studio can support 36 plus programming languages. Like .NET can support 60 plus programming languages. Visual Studio can also support 36 plus programming languages where you can use in order to code, develop certain applications, which is a requirement. Let's learn the features of Visual Studio. Visual Studio has add-on features compared to .NET. Let's see what are the important features of it. First one would be code editor. Second would be debugger. The third one is designer. The fourth one is extensibility. Also, it has other tools compatibility. So let's learn what is code editor. Code editor, as compared to all the other frameworks or IDEs, it is used in order to code programs for certain application or the end product which they are trying to develop using this IDE or the framework. So debugger is a tool where you can use in order to make your code which you have coded as error free. It helps you to find the errors, what might be the solution for that particular error. So debugger is a place where it will help you inside the studio in order to detect the errors and debug. Apart from debugger, you have one good feature called designer. Designing means it will help you in order to develop with just drag and drop form in order to create certain applications. For example, if you want to create a login application, what you want? Generally, you need two text boxes. One is for user name, also the second one for password. And what you want? You need one button to click to send your username and password for verification in order to log in. So login button is necessary. So what you have to do in Visual Studio is just drag and drop. We have to drag the text box, drop on the form. We have to drag the button, we have to drop on the form. So that is how we work. So designing will be very easy in Visual Studio compared to other IDEs. Coming up to the next one, you have extensibility. So extensibility in the sense, like you can extend the code. It is platform independent. Once the product has been built, the application has been built, you can run that in any desktop or any web platform. For example, I have created my Visual Studio application in order to add two numbers, and I can run that particular application in your computer. So that is how it is. It is giving you portability, also extensibility. What you do, I have just created addition. What you do, you will develop that particular project to you create subtraction, multiplication, division. So what happens? You create the application as arithmetic program application, wherein I had created only for addition. So this is called extensibility. You can extend the code which is in one version to another add-on version. So I created for sum, you can create for sum, difference, multiplication, and division. So that is how the extensibility work. Other tools. So other tools in the sense you can also integrate databases like SQL Server or NoSQL, RDBMS. The previous versions it was supporting, initially it was supporting MS Access. Now it has gradually been changed to SQL or other data storage softwares. So other tools in the sense Visual Studio will support different kinds of databases or different applications if you want. Whatever you want to add on to your particular project, you can do that. It is compatible in order to use different tools as well in Visual Studio. The next question, where do you download the Visual Studio from? Any software or anything which you are installing on your computer, try to get the original version or try to download the software from the official websites and releases only. Okay, so coming up to Visual Studio, you have official website of theirs, that is visualstudio.microsoft.com. So if you just go to that particular link, you can find download Visual Studio option on their home screen, where if you can see in this particular snapshot which I've put up, so here you have community version, professional version, also the enterprise version. So community version is free. It can be used for learners and the students as well. Coming up to professional and enterprise version, yes, it is paid software, paid versions where it is having a better add-on features compared to community, and it is used by the professionals in order to develop certain high-end software applications. Okay, so it is good for us, for learners, for students to download Community 2019. I'm using 2019 here because 2022 is still a beta version. So we have to click on the Community 2019, download the package and install. And while installing, I suggest please do not install the software applications into a C drive. Please change that in browse and change the path, and please install in different drive. It is safe for the computers. Okay, so you are going to Visual Studio official website and you are downloading the community version of Visual Studio and installing the exe file in your computer. So this is about the download steps you have to note for Visual Studio. After installing Visual Studio 2019 community version, let's start coding in the same IDE. In order to code, we have to learn the programming language. So here we are learning C# fundamentals. Let's see how does C# program structure look like. So first and foremost, we have to include the system library functions for the programming language what we are using. Any program, it might be C, C++, anything. The first line, it has to import the system libraries. Here in C#, we are using system in order to fetch all the system library functions. After that, we are having namespace identifier name. Namespace is used in order to organize and arrange the classes. So whatever the classes we use, whatever the functions and methods we use inside the program, in order to arrange that, we use namespace. Identifier name can be relevant to the problem statement. We can keep the name as sum if we are adding two numbers. We can keep the namespace as subtraction if we are subtracting two numbers. It is relevant to the problem statement. Coming up to the next one, we have class. So class is a collection of objects. So we'll be having certain elements or statements, some operation to be done inside the class. So class name is also problem statement dependent. So it is a good programming practice in order to keep the names of classes, namespaces relevant to the problem statement. So class name. After that, we are having main function, that is static void main. So what happens here? This is the place where the compilation takes place, starts, execution starts. Every time you try to compile, the indentation will go to main. So main is the place where it starts the program compilation or execution. So After that, we have console.writeLine. So what happens in console.writeLine? It's just comparing with another programming language. Say C program, printf. What do? You try to print whatever the lines of statements you have inside the printf on the output screen. Likewise, in C# also, you have console.writeLine in order to fetch the statements from the user and put it in the output screen. So let's take an example of one simple program on the IDE of Visual Studio. How do we execute keeping this structure in mind? So let's start. So this is how the Visual Studio 2019 IDE looks like. Here I have kept the same programming structure just to keep the understanding of the user, like using system was same, that is used in order to fetch the system library into your program. What I've named here is, since I'm not solving any problem statement, I've kept it as sample program. So namespace is a sample program, and class name, again it's a program I've given because I'm not solving anything else. So static main is same, and then we have console writeLine. So what happens in console writeLine is whatever we are typing inside the double quotes, it has been put up into the output screen. So let's see. Here I'm typing as let's learn coding. Okay, so we have to first compile then execute. So I'm compiling with the help of function F5. So what happens here? You can just type it as function F5, else we can go to debug and start debugging, that is F5. Once you debug, what happens? It starts checking for the errors. If there are no errors, it is not showing any error message. Directly it is going to the output screen. As you people can see here, it is let's learn coding. A single statement to be printed on the output screen. It is done. So this is a sample program for Visual Studio by using C# programming languages. Now, we shall learn regarding identifiers and keywords. So what is identifier? I'll give you a real-time example. So how does people recognize you? They call your name, basically, right? Your name acts as your identity. So likewise, in programming also, any user-defined entity, it might be a variable, class, function, methods, anything for the matter, should have a proper matching identifier name. Why do I say matching identifier name? For which it has to match? It has to match the problem statement. For example, if you are trying to add two numbers, write a program to add two numbers, the class should be sum. The class cannot be subtraction, right? It is quite confusing for people whether to look at the problem statement or the classes you have defined. So if you keep it very much similar, like for adding two numbers, if you keep the class name as sum, okay, fine. The statement is adding two numbers. Hence, the user has, like the programmer has put up class sum. Okay, it is quite acceptable. So you have to keep the entities names which is similar to the problem statements. So here I've given you a simple broad example of one class declaration and one variable declaration. So how do you declare a class? A class can be a public, private, protected also. I'll come up to that later. So now public class car. Car is a class name which I've given, and variable declaration is of type integer, that is int a. A is the variable name. So I'm trying to give you two different examples. I'm not solving any problem statement here. So I've just kept it as car and variable a. So apart from this, you have to notice one simple thing and keep that in mind. What is that? You should never try to name your identifier which is similar and exact as a keyword. Why? I tell you now in the next slide. So keywords are basically a reserved terms which is already present in the library of the C#. In the compiler of the C#, if you try to put up the identifier name also which is matching the keyword, the compiler will be confused whether this is system defined or the user defined. So in order to avoid this confusion, we should not name the identifier as much as possible which is similar to the keyword. there comes a situation where you have to use a keyword as identifier. How do you use? You try to prefix @ symbol to the keyword which you are using, which is about to be an identifier name, right? That is a practice you can make. It cannot be exactly as keyword. At least one character difference should be there. That is @. Hence, we prefix any keyword with @ which can be used as identifier. There is one more concept here which you have to notice, that is contextual keywords. So what are these contextual keywords? These keywords will be having a predefined meaning according to the context. Say for example, sum is also used for addition of two numbers. Sum is also used for arithmetic operations, right? There are two different entities, but it depends upon the context. So there are few contextual keywords which I have named here, that is get, set, into, from, join, etc. There are much more keywords which is there in C#. So I'll let you know now. So I think it is clear. Keywords are of two types broadly. One is reserved keywords. Second one is contextual keywords. So reserved keywords cannot be changed. The meaning is defined and done. But contextual keywords meaning will differ according to the context. So let's hop into the different types of keywords which you have. So I've just listed it down. I'm not explaining that, but still try to know what are the different keywords we have. It might be a modifier keywords. Anything you want to modify, you can override, you can synchronize. So anything as such. Access modifier keywords as well. I told you public, private, protected, internal. So it acts as a security system for your class and methods and functions which you try to define. So apart from that, you have statement keywords. Statement keywords is very much similar to all the programming languages, that is if, else, switch, case, default, go to, return, break, everything. So apart from that, we have method parameter keyword, the reference and out. We use it for method parameters. Calling with the reference is mostly used. So access keywords are like base. This keyword is very famous in programming platforms. So namespace keywords, you can very much correlate, that is using, right? Using is used in order to call the system library functions to your C# program. Using system is the first line which you try to write. So using operator, operator extern, alias, etc. are there in namespace keywords. Apart from that, we have literal keywords, that is null, false, true, value, void. So void main, that is what we try to write if you want to correlate. Apart from that, we have operator keywords. It is like type of operator, stack, allocation, checked, unchecked. So different kinds of operator keywords. Also contextual keywords, yes, add, var, dynamic, global, set, value, etc. Apart from this, you also have type keywords. It might be a boolean type, character type, byte, decimal, double, int, float. It's just nothing but data types keywords. So you have query keywords also. If you want from, select, if you're trying to work with a data set, data table, something, you can use it as from, where, select, group, into, etc. So this is a wide classification of types of keywords which you have. Apart from this, you have to notice two important facts. First one is there are 78 plus keywords in C#, wherein 30 plus are contextual keywords only. Why is it 30 plus and others are constant? Is because any new keywords which you try to put up inside the C# compiler, it is considered as contextual keywords only. They do not want the reserved keywords to be disturbed, and like it will disturb the complete compiler design. So any new keyword which you are using, user defined, it is contextual keywords only. That is why we have 30 plus contextual keywords in C# compiler. So that's about very little introduction regarding the keywords and the identifiers. Let's hop in to see a simple example on Visual Studio IDE. How do you solve, which is related to a keyword and identifier. The problem statement here which I'm trying to solve is only two different operations. One is addition, one more is subtraction. So let's quickly hop in. So here you can see, as I've mentioned, the class name is ki sample or ik sample. So what is that ik sample? I have tried to keep this particular example which is relatable to identifiers and keywords. So identifiers, keywords, sample. So this is how you name your entities which you use inside the code which is matching the problem statement, right? So using system, the first line we are calling the library functions. Next you have class declaration which is similar to the problem statement which I'm trying to solve. So that is I'm giving an example for identifiers and keywords, that is ik sample. And what is the main function? The main function is having different variable declarations. So here you can notice identifiers for class declaration and variable declarations which I'm trying to do. So int x is equal to 5. I've given 5 value which is stored inside x variable and 6 value which is stored in y. So we are performing two different operations which I told you in prior, that is addition and subtraction. So let's hop in for the first subtraction operation. X minus y, the answer is stored in z. So z is one more extra variable where it is used in order to store the subtraction result, difference value, right? So you also have one more variable, that is int a. So what do you do with that? So x plus y, when you do addition, the value to be stored in the variable declared, that is a. So when you have to put up to the output screen, you have to use z and a to fetch the value and put that out on the output screen. So that happens with the help of console.writeLine, right? Anything you want to display, you have to put up in two double quotes where you are having certain statements, and you have to fetch the value from the variable by using that particular format specifier, which you can see a curly braces with a 0 inside it. Why do we use this? We use this in order to tell the compiler, see, we are trying to communicate, we are trying to access the integer values, not the string values. C# is perk, or that is how it is defined. It will consider every element as a string only. So in order to take that assumption out, we are using this format specifier in order to uh, tell the compiler that, okay, we need an output which is of type integer, not the string. So z and a's value will be displayed on the output screen. So let's quickly debug. So make sure you debug first, then you run. If there is no errors, Visual Studio directly will run the code and show you the output. First, you try to compile. So how do you do? You can directly press F5, else you can also start debugging by going to debugging option. So it is running the code. Yes. So here you will get the output like this. So the difference of two numbers is -1. The addition of two numbers is 11. So the sum of two numbers are 11. So this is how it will work. So that's about the keywords and the identifiers for now. Now, in this video, we shall learn regarding variables and constants. So, what are variables and constants in general? Variable means anything which changes. Constant means anything which doesn't change. So, in C# also, we have variables and constants just like other programming languages. So, let's hop into variable. Let's know what is a variable. So, a variable is nothing more than a storage region where you reserve certain space and you then put up a value. It's just like reserving a dinner table in some restaurant, right? You need not want to go and stand in queue and search for the places. You can directly hop into the table you have reserved. So that's how in programming also it will work. In order to use certain values, you have to reserve the space in order to store the value, and then you have to store the value. So variable acts as a storage space for any of the elements or the values which you are trying to put up in your program. So how do you declare a variable? So a variable is declared first mentioning what type is that particular data will be. Data type, and then the variable name, termination symbol. That is very simple, which is common in C, C++, also in C#. So first I'm mentioning int a, that is integer type, the variable name is a. So we are in turn reserving 2 bytes of spaces for whatever the value which you are trying to put up into the variable a in future. So that is how variable will work. And you have different types of data types, which is common in every programming language, but I'm still mentioning them. One is integer, another is floating, decimal, boolean, nullable. So integer has int, long, char, short with its different memory spaces, sizes, and floating has float double data types. Decimal has decimal data type, and boolean has true or false. Boolean is nothing but whether the condition is true or false, it will try to check. Nullable is anything you want to keep the value empty, then you can use null. Okay, so that's about the variables. Let's quickly hop in to the categories of variables. So what are the different categories you have in variables? Generally, we say variable declaration, it is done and dusted. No, that is not how it is. You have three different classification amongst variables only. One is value types. Generally, which we try to use is of value types in general, default element. But there are two more which you can use. One is reference type and one more is pointer type. So what is the difference between all these three? First, let's talk about value type. So what is a value variable? It's directly like int x is equal to 5, right? So 5 is the value assigned to the variable x. Done. So value type is directly having a value to the variable. During the declaration period itself, we will initialize and finish it. So what is a reference type? Reference type is a data type where it is having a location of exact value, not the value, but where it is staying. It is pointing towards the value's location. So we are giving the reference. Okay, you try to go. How do you say address to somebody unknown? If they ask you, you say keeping the address as the reference which they are holding, you say go straight, go right, go left. So that is how you say. Reference types is also similar. It is having an address to where the exact value is being stored. So what is a pointer type then? So in order to use a pointer data type, you have to declare the pointer first, then the address of that value will be stored inside it. So that's about three categories of variables, that is value, reference, and pointer. Let's hop in to the constants. As the name suggests, constant means no change. So constants are the fixed values which will not change in any stage of the program. Say it might be running stage, compilation stage, any stage. So literals are the another name which we try to give it to the constants. Literals is also a fixed value, constant is also a fixed value. There are two different types of constants. One is compile time, another one is runtime. During compile time, it will not change the value. During runtime, it will not change the value. So it's very simple. The constants and the variables are this way. So let's quickly hop into a example where I'm showing you a simple example on the IDE of Visual Studio. Quickly, let's step up. So I'm showing you an example for variable and the constant. So I'm just kept that particular name, class name as VC sample, variable constant sample. So what am I doing here is I'm trying to find area and circumference of the circle. Say I tell you every time you have to keep the class name which is similar to the problem statement. So I can make it a circle sample also if you want to keep it similar. So let's quickly go with the class. Class has a name circle. So namespace I had named it as VC sample as I'm giving you sample program for variables and constants, right? So next you have public. In that you have to notice that we have declared pi as const double pi. Pi is used in order to calculate the area and circumference of the circle. So I'm giving you the value for pi as 3.14159. It actually there are 7 digits ahead after the dot decimal symbol, but still I'm trying to take only 5 characters after the decimal point. So const double have put up the pi value as constant. It is not changing when you are executing or compiling the program. So apart from that, you have double R. Why I've named it as double is because R cannot be a whole number every time. It cannot be 2, 3, 4. It can be 2.5, 3.6, 7.8, anything for the matter. So radius is constant. I've given radius as 10. So that means I'm giving the radius as 10. R is 10. I'm just putting up. I can also make it as 10.5 also. Anything for the matter is fine. So two different operations as I told you. One is pi into r, pi r, right? Pi r square we say, right? Pi r. So the circumference is 2 into pi r. That is 2 pi r. So that is how the formulas has been put up. Apart from that, what do you want to display on the output? It has been used in order to display console.write line. So you fetch the variable value, put that up on the output screen. So that is how this will work. Let's try to debug and let's find out if there are any errors in the program or it is good to go. I'm starting to debug. Okay, there is no errors. Since there is no error, it is displaying the output directly. So area of the circle is 346.360. So 346.3602975. You can also restrict the numbers you want to display after the decimal point. So circumference of the circle is 65.97339. So this is the output and a simple example where I am showing the const use and the variable use. Variable for that you can consider for r, for constant you can consider pi. So this is how the program works. Now we shall learn regarding type conversions. So what is type conversion? Data type converting. That's all. We are using this method called type conversions in order to convert from one data type to another data type. So there are two different types of type conversion. One is implicit, another one is explicit. We also call this conversion as typecasting as well. So let's see what is implicit conversion. In implicit type conversion, the C# compiler itself will compile and it will try to convert the smaller elements to larger elements, a derived class from base class. So that is how it will try to convert by itself. It will try to recognize and according to the precedence, it will try to convert the type conversions. But what is explicit type conversion? Here we are using certain predefined functions. For example, it might be to int, to byte, to float, to double. So from integer type to double type, from float type to integer type by user defined way. That is, user is trying to manually convert by using the predefined functions which is already existing. It might be like, as I told you, integer type to float to double or double to string, anything for the matter. So let's quickly see a simple example separately, one for implicit conversion, one for explicit conversion. First, we shall see for implicit conversion. So this is an example I'm trying to let you people know how does implicit type conversion work. So here I'm using the namespace as ITC, implicit type conversion. I'm trying to keep the names relatable to the problem statement or the sample which I'm trying to show you. So apart from this, I'm just trying to give the class name as sample TC, sample type conversions. So what is happening here, if you could see, I'm trying to implicitly convert integer I value, which is 57, into long type and float type. So if you run this particular program, what would be the output? Let's see. Before running, we have to debug in order to find any errors. So I'm debugging the program. There is no errors. So it is showing integer value is 57, long value is 57, float value is 57. So it has implicitly converted all the single value 57 to all different types of particular data types. So that's about the implicit type conversion. Let's quickly hop in for explicit type conversion. This is an example for explicit type conversion. I have named the namespace as ETC. That means explicit type conversion. Also, you have class that is sample etc, sample explicit type conversion. So what is happening here? I'm trying to give the value 54.123 to the decimal type, that is double D, right? So that has been converted into the integer type by using explicit typecasting. So int I is equal to int of D. We are trying to tell the compiler the double value which is there in the variable D to be converted as an integer, and it has to be stored in the int I variable. So in console.writeLine, we are trying to put up the value of I is what. So let's try to debug and run the program. I'm starting to debug this, and here you can find value of I is 54. Actually, the double value was 54.123. So as we are converting the double value, decimal value into a whole number, that is integer, it is taking only the value prior the decimal point. 54, the whole number is being displayed. So that's about the explicit type conversion. Now we shall learn regarding boxing and unboxing. So boxing is an implicit process. That means C# by itself will convert the value type to object or reference type. But unboxing is kind of explicit conversion where the user has to convert the reference or object type to the value type. So also any of the value can be converted by any of the object. So let's see how do we do boxing first. Next we shall go for unboxing. Switching to the Visual Studio IDE. So here you can see an example for boxing which I've taken. So I've taken both boxing and unboxing separately in order to avoid the confusion for many who doesn't know the basics of programming. So people who know can easily understand this. So let's quickly have one glimpse of how do we do boxing. So I've named this class as boxing relevant to the problem statement, and you can find integer n is being assigned with 2021. And we are boxing that by creating an object obj and assigning that with the integer what we created, that is n. So n value has to be changed to 500 now. So n is equal to 500. When we give this and try to print both value type and object type, let's see how does that look. First we shall debug. Okay, value type of n is 500, which we try to give, and object type of that particular n is 2021. So this is how the output looks like. When you come to unboxing, so here I've named the class as unboxing, but you have to notice as we are assigning an integer value 25 to n, right? So after that, we are trying to create an object. Again, I have kept it similar as much as possible. So object obj, and it is assigned with n. So how do we do unboxing? I said it is an explicit process. That means user have to create that conversion. So int I is equal to int obj. So let's see what will be the value of I and what will be the value of obj. I'm trying to start debugging. Okay, so the value of obj is 25. Again, the value of I is 25. So here we are giving the value I also 25, and the object which we created, that is also to be as 25. So that's about boxing and unboxing. Now we shall be learning regarding expressions and operators. Expressions are very much common as we write in mathematical expressions or logical expressions. It comprises of operands and operators. Operands are nothing but the variables, the literals, or the method calls which you use. Operators are the symbols which you use to perform the operations. Might be addition, subtraction, multiplication, plus, minus, into, division, anything for the matter. At least one single operand should be present in order to call it as an expression, right? So apart from expression, we also have to know regarding operators. So what does this operators do without which we cannot perform any operation? Say it may be addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, etc. So we have lots of built-in operators which is present in C# library. that is arithmetic operator, bitwise operator, relational operator, logical operator, assignment operators, etc. So quickly we shall see a simple example where we can go through some of the operators as possible. Here is an example where I'm talking regarding certain operations, right? So I've named this particular code as EO sample, that is expression and operator sample. So quickly we shall see what are the different operations we are performing. So these are the variable declarations which is necessary for these operations. First we are talking regarding division, then modulus, then post increment operator, then we'll be having bitwise, and at the last we'll be having add assignment operator. So division, as you all know, if you perform division on any variables or any values, the result will be its quotient. If you perform modulus on any variables or values, the result will be of the remainder. Make sure division is different and modulus is different. So apart from that, we have post increment, just like pre increment and post increment, plus plus, minus minus. So we are concentrating on a plus plus here. Right. Apart from that, we have bitwise AND operator followed by assignment operator. So quickly we shall run this program and look at the results we get. I'm trying to debug. If there is no error, you will get an output screen. Yes. So here division operator is 2 and modulo operator is 0. Right. So again, A is 21 where result is 20. Right. There was 20. You post incremented that. That is adding plus 1. It became 21. So bitwise AND result is 0. Add assignment operator result is 25. So this ends the example for expressions and operators. Now we shall learn regarding control flow statements. There are two kinds of control flow statements. One is used for decision making. One is used for iterations or looping. In decision making, you can find if statement, if else statement, if else if, and nested if, switch case, ternary operator. In loopings, we can find while loop, for loop, do while loop, for each loop, and nested loops. So first we shall start learning regarding if statement. Here you can observe if statement does not have false condition, and this is the only statement where it has only true. If it is true, the code is executed. If it is not, it will directly exit the program. It is very simple. So let's quickly see a simple example in Visual Studio IDE. Here I've taken a simple example of comparing one number whether it is lesser than the number 10 or not. If it is less, it will print the relevant line. If not, it will print the default line. There is no question of false here. So let's quickly debug this program. Yes. So this statement is always executed. Why? You can just see I have given a number int num 15. 15 is not less than 10. 15 is greater than 10. Hence, it is not executing the relevant line. Instead, it is executing a default line which I have given. Say, for example, let's make it true then. I have made that number 5. Let's debug again. Okay. So, here you can find 5 is less than 10. This statement is always executed. So it is executing both of them. Just because the condition is true, it is executing the code line. If previously it was not true, hence it was executing only the default line. So this is how if statement works. Now we shall learn regarding if else statement. So here you have one condition with two different elements to consider. If it is true, it executes if code. If it is false, it executes else code. So it is very simple, but it has true and false both, right? So let's quickly see how does a simple example look like in Visual Studio for the same. So this is a sample example I have taken. A number is being compared with 10 whether it is less or not. So if it is less, it prints that number is less than 10. If it is greater, there's no condition here, but if it is not less, obviously it is greater. Hence, it is printed as the number is greater than 10. Let's quickly execute. Here, 15 is greater than 10. Say, for example, I'll make it 5. The first statement will get executed. So that means if code related statements gets executed. Now the else part got executed. 5 is less than 10. So this is a simple example to demonstrate how if-else statement will work. Now we shall learn regarding if-else if statement. So we have if with the condition 1 and it is true, it executes condition 1 related code. If not, it goes to else if part. Again, you have condition 2 there. It will execute this only if the condition 1 is false and condition 2 is true, or else it will directly go to else part and execute the default condition if all the other conditions are false. So it is very simple, an extension of if else, that is if else if statement. So let's quickly check how does a simple example look for the same. So this is a simple example we have. I have named this class as if else if statement itself to make it relevant. So what is happening here? We have a number and we have a condition number 1 related statement. Again, we have condition number 2 related statement or else part. If the condition 1, if condition is false, it will try to check for the condition 2, that is else if. If both the conditions are false, if and else if, it will print else part code. So this is how it works. So let me quickly check for the same. See, I have assigned number with 10. Actually, 10 is not less than 10, nor 10 is not greater than 10. It's supposed to print the third statement, that is 10 is equal to 10. So let's quickly see. See, 10 is equal to 10. If you change the input, for example, I'm making it 20, then the first if condition will be false and it will try to check for the second else if condition. Then this is actually true, it will print and it will stop. It will not go to the else part because it has got the true statement here. So let me quickly run the program. Yes, 20 is greater than 10. The second condition, that is else if condition, is true. Hence, it is printing the code which is related to else if. So if you want to check for the first one, just make it lesser than 10. I'm making it 2 now and trying to debug the same. Okay, so 2 is less than 10. The first condition is only true. Immediately, it executed the relevant code. It is not going for else if part or else part. So this is how if else if work like. Now we shall learn regarding nested if statement. So nested if is nothing but we are having one complete set, that is if else inside a if, again if else inside a else. If you could see here, if and else inside if condition, again if and else in else part. So the complete if else is being nested inside the if and the else outside. So first it will check for if condition, it is true. It will check for another if condition, nested condition number 1. If it is true, it will execute the code, else it will execute the else part. Again, it will check for the else. In else also you have second one, that is if nested condition 2. So it will check for that condition, and if it is true, it executes the code. If it is not, it will go to the else part. So it's having a simple mechanism how it will work. So let's see an example now in Visual Studio IDE. Here I'm comparing 3 different numbers, number by a number. So first number with second one and first number with the third one. So again, second number with third one in order to make sure we are not missing any combinations. So first number I have 5, second number I have minus 33, and third number I have 17. Generally, if we try to compare everything, 17 is the largest number. Let's see how does the comparison happen. I'm debugging this program. Right, 17 is the largest number. So if you could change anything, if you remove this minus for the second number, it will show 33 is the largest. Let's start debugging. Yeah, 33 is the largest. So what happens here is, first it will check for the if condition. If first number is greater than second number. If this is true, it will go to the second condition of if first number is greater than third number. If not, if this first condition is only a fail, then it will go to the else part and execute this particular element. It will completely jump if else part which is embedded here. So that is how nested if works. Okay. Now we shall learn regarding switch case statement. So here we have switch with a condition. That condition is compared with case 1, case 2, case 3, case n and so on. If none of the cases matches, then it will print the default statement. Default statement is very much necessary in switch case. What if none of the case is correct and it has to print something on the output screen, right? So we have default statement for that. And you have to notice one more thing, we are using break. For each and every case, it has to break. What if in case 4, we get a right answer? Then it has to break immediately and go back, print the relevant statement which is given for case 4. So we use break. Okay, break is a keyword again. So let's quickly see a sample example in Visual Studio IDE. So here I'm just comparing an alphabet whether it is an oval or not. We have 5 different cases because we have ovals A, E, I, O, U. Right? Apart from that, we don't have any alphabets considered to be oval. So I'm mentioning all the conditions. Case A, case E, case I, O followed by U. So I'm having a code according to that particular case. So if A is true, case A is true, it will print the A is particular code. If it is E, it will print anything related to E, the statements or codes. So if none of the case match, then we have a default statement here, that is, it is not a oval alphabet, right? So let me quickly run this program for you. Let's see. It is asking us to enter an alphabet. So I'll enter Z. It is not an oval. I'll try to execute again with an oval alphabet. I give an I. Okay. So I is an oval alphabet. So this is how switch case works. Now we shall learn regarding ternary operator. So we have a condition first, then the relevant expression 1 and expression 2. So what happens here? How does ternary operator work? It is quite similar to the if statement, but the reason it is differing is with the syntax and the work style. So let's check. If the condition given is true, then the part after the question mark gets executed, that is expression 1. If the condition is false, the part after the colon gets executed, that is expression 2. And it will result with a value. It is very simple. Let's not get confused with this. It looks like, oh, there is something more to understand, but it is very easy. You have a condition. If the condition is true, the question mark part, that is expression 1, will get executed. If the condition is false, the colon part, that is expression 2, gets executed. So let's quickly see an simple example. Here I'm solving whether the number is even or not. So I'm taking a class name which is ternary operator sample, which I'm showing now. So I've named a number with an integer value, that is 5. So I have Boolean function with here. So what does this Boolean function do? Whether it will say it is true or false, whether 5 is an even or not. Actually 5 is not even, it has to be false. in the output screen. Let's check. So what is the major condition we have to follow for evenness? Uh, any number which you take modulus 2 should result in 0 equally divided by 2. That means it has to completely divide by 2. Then only it is considered as even number. Any number which is giving a remainder, we do not consider that as an even number. So modulus is always for checking for remainder, not the quotient. So I always remind you about this. So if this particular condition given, that is number modulus 2 is equal to 0 is been, if it is true, it will execute the question mark part, and if it is false, it will execute the um, colon part, right? So let's see what is the answer for this particular problem. Okay, so here we have got false. That means 5 is not an even number, it is an odd number. If you want to change the number, I'll make it 22. Okay, let's check for the same. I'm starting to debug. It is true, right? 22 is exactly divisible by 2 with 0 remainder. 0 is equal to 0. Hence, it is true. If the condition is true, executes this part. If it is false, executes the false part. So that's about the turn B operator. Now we shall learn regarding different types of looping. So why do we use loop? The first question. Anything you want to repeat again and again. So anything having iterations, we'll be using loop for repetitive tasks. So the first one is while loop. So as you can see, you have a syntax here, while with a condition. If it is true, it executes a while loop code or body. If it is false, it will continue with the code, or if it is the end of the code, it will stop the code. So you can also observe one more thing here. You have while, immediately you have a condition. So this is called as entry controlled loop. So first itself, we check for the condition. If it is true, we enter inside the while body. If it is false, we get out of the while loop or we exit the code. So this is how while loop look like. And we should quickly have a sample for the same. So here I have taken a simple example of printing this line, that is C# while loop iteration 5 times or 10 times. So here I've just put it as 10. Yeah, you can print it for 10 times here. So it starts from 1. So let's see how many times it actually prints. Okay, so I'm executing the program. Before execution, I'm debugging. If it is without error, it will print. So we have 10 iterations without too many codes here. It has put in a loop until unless the condition is false, it will be printing. Once the condition is false, it will stop printing. So this is how loops work like, and this is how while loop work like. Now we shall learn regarding do while loop. You have to notice the syntax of do while loop, where first the code will be executed, then the condition will be checked. So this kind of looping statement is called exit controlled loop. So first the body will get executed. If it is true, it executes the conditions, and then if it is false, it does not go back to the while body, it will exit. So at least once the code will be executed here. There is no zero chances. At least once the body will be executed. If after that, if the while condition is tend to be false, then it will not go back to that particular while body. It will exit from the loop. So let's quickly see a simple example for the same. So here I'm trying to print the table of 5. So here let's quickly check how does this work. We have do. Once it will execute the complete body, that is product console.writeLine, once it will execute, if the condition is false, it will not go back to this do place where the code are there. It will just exit from the particular loop. So let's see how does this work. I'm debugging this first. If it is okay, it will execute. Here we are printing 5 table up to 10. So this is how do while work. So you can just also see, yeah, say for example, if you make that condition false somewhere, it will not enter this particular sector for the second time. Once it will print the second time, it will not go there. So this is how do while work like. Now we shall learn regarding for loop. So in for loop, we have initialization, condition, and iteration in one single line. So first we'll initialize, then we check for the condition, then we go on with the iterations or looping, right? So the code body will execute only if all the three things is satisfied. So initialization statement, condition is true, it will go to the body of for loop. It will check for the counter statement. If it is not matching, if it is false, it exits the loop. So this is how for loop work like. And let's see with a quick example. Here I'm trying to simply print 10 times the simple statement C# for loop iteration. So let me check now. So how does this work? Here you can see first int k is equal to 1 is initialization. K is less than equals to 10 is for condition. K plus plus is again the iteration. So let me check this. Start debugging. Yes, 10 times the for loop has been printed, right? So this is how for loop works. Now we shall learn regarding for each loop. So for each has only one element which is iteratable at one particular time. So first it will select, for example, in an array, if you have 5 different alphabets, the first alphabet will be selected, it will be printed, then it will go to the second one, then third, fourth, and fifth. So that is how for each and every character you try to put up inside the array will be taken into consideration one by one. So let's quickly look at the diagram here. Elements remaining in collection. Collection in the sense, let's take it an array. Okay, there are 5 elements inside an array. First element it will take and it will assign the next element in the collection to local variable. Once this particular for loop has been executed, the second character of the array will be assigned, then third character, then fourth, then fifth, until unless the array is empty and the condition is false, it will be executing. Once it is false, it will exit the for each loop and it will continue with the statements below that condition, or if it is an exit of that code, it will stop execution. So this is how for each loop works. So let's quickly have a simple example demonstrating the same. So here you have for each loop sample. What I'm doing is I'm keeping an array which is displaying the word great learning, right? So each and every character is separated here. So what happens every time it will push one character at a time. So G first, again it will go for R, then E, then followed by up to the end, up to G, right? So this is how the for each loop works. Let's quickly execute in order to know the result. So here I'm debugging it. Okay, so this is how it prints one character after the other until unless the array is completely printed. So that's about for each loop. Now we shall see nested loops. We can nest for loop also, a loop inside a loop, and while loop as well. Also, we can combine both for loop and while loop. So here, this is how it looks. For loop, we already know initialization, condition, and increment or decrement. Again, the same thing will be inside for. So for inside of for is nested for loop, and again while condition. Again, you have while condition, which is nested inside the main while condition. Outer one, this is inner one. We call this as outer one. Again, this is inner one. So this is how nested while and for loop looks like. So quickly, I shall give you an example of combination of both. How do you combine both for loop inside while loop or while loop inside for loop? Let's see. So here you can see you have while loop. Inside that you have a for loop. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to print a pattern here. So let me quickly execute. You will get a picture what I'm trying to say here. So I'm trying to print a pattern here. So this is how a loop inside a loop work like. It might be a combination of for loop or while loop with a for loop. So for loop inside a for loop. So any combination is possible. We can nest any of the loop inside the code. That's about the nested for and while loop. Now we have come up to the end of this video. Like we have learned .NET and Visual Studio overview and little bit of history with the different features of Visual Studio as well. That is code editor, debugger, designer, extensibility, etc. So we also have got to know C# fundamental concepts like basic structure of the C#, what are the different variables, constants, boxing, unboxing concepts, type conversions, etc. So also we have known control flow statements, which is common for all the programming languages, but still it is good to know how the syntaxes are there in every programming language. So in C#, what are the different types of control flow statements we have, whether it is decision making or it is a looping. We have learned and discussed everything in this video. So thank you. We'll meet up in the next video. If you haven't subscribed for our channel yet, I would request you to hit the subscribe button and turn on notification bell so that you don't miss any new updates or video releases from Great Learning. If you enjoy this video, show us some love and do like this video. Knowledge increases by sharing, so make sure you share this video with your friends and colleagues. Make sure you comment on this video. Any queries or suggestions, I'll be more than happy to respond to all of them.